For those of you who follow me on social media, you will know that I am the queen of selfies. In addition to posting photos, I also post about Indigenous issues, and I'm often asked, how do I advance reconciliation? How do we decolonize? Where do we start? And before I begin, I would like to take a moment to introduce myself in my language and acknowledge the local territory. Simgiget, Sigrim Hanak, Gentlgebuinsuch, Oye Sitnisip when Bexit, Luam Gadi when Gasip, Tumelit Rwe, Lachgabu Padere, Wapaisum Swin Suitwit, Oye Sitnisip Lequangan speaking peoples. When I think about reconciliation and decolonization, I think about my 4 sons, each one my Kwatlayu. In their Kwatwala language, Kwatlayu means you are my reason for every breath that I take. I journal every morning and came across an entry where I wrote, "It is my wish that my 4 sons feel like they belong, that my grandchildren are not born under the Indian Act. My vision is that we are free to be Indigenous. This is why I do the work that I do." I attended a meeting about decolonizing education where the 6 conditions of systems change were introduced. Essentially, it means looking at things like policy, practice, and mental models. I explained that those conditions are not enough to create the changes that we need to see. They're important, but not enough. I was talking about this with several colleagues who agreed. A colleague said to me, "Marcia, we decolonized our hiring policies to attract more Indigenous peoples, but the Indigenous employees didn't stay long." And so I spent some time reflecting on my 30 years of working with Indigenous peoples to create a framework. Now, some of you are probably thinking, she doesn't even look 30 years old. While I was creating the framework, I asked my elders, what word can I use for systems change? Ki'imgat, they said. In my language, Ki'imgat means one heart. Inherently, it means harmony and unity. And so I created Ki'imgat, the 4 Indigenous conditions for systems change, which are trust, healing, self-determination, and courage. I created the 4 conditions because what we're doing is not working. And Ki'imgat is designed to bridge relationships for meaningful and lasting change. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is systems change? By definition, it means advancing equity by shifting the conditions that hold a problem in place. In other words, for Indigenous peoples, systems change is dismantling white supremacy. Having said that, I'm reminded that Indigenous peoples are fierce voices for change. We've seen this in grassroots movements like Idle No More, in hundreds of court cases, in commissions and inquiries, and in literature by Indigenous scholars and authors, all calling for equity and change. In fact, our experiences as Indigenous peoples have been well documented, and yet here we are, still dealing with systemic racism. This is why Ki'imgat is needed, for meaningful and lasting change. 4 simple yet intricate conditions: trust, healing, self-determination, and courage. Ki'imgat is designed to shift away from approaches that are checkboxes, token, and superficial. It's designed to shift away from performative allyship towards genuine relationships and real action. I spent some time walking in the forest, to reflect on Key of God and ask myself, what do I want people to know about the 4 conditions? I would like people to understand that in the same way that there is no reconciliation without truth, there is no change without trust. We have a history of broken trust in this country, and many Indigenous peoples do not trust the system. The ability to build trust is fundamentally important for systems change. And the same holds true for healing. It's important to understand that every single system has impacted Indigenous peoples. Every sector, industry, and institution. I will always remember a story that a colleague shared with me about a First Nations family who lost a child because of a mistake made by a doctor. The family wanted a healing circle. Instead, the doctor's lawyer advised him not to go. The family was left sitting there. Now, maybe the doctor didn't know what a healing circle was. He was thinking with his mind, not with his heart. Ki God invites you to shift from your mind to your heart. This is the essence of decolonization. Examine your relationships with Indigenous peoples through the lens of our collective history, and you will find that we need to heal those relationships. When it comes to self-determination, there's growing awareness about the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. However, what many don't know is that our rights, our inherent rights, are recognized in Section 35 of Canada's Constitution Act. In these past 30 years, I've had the honor and privilege of witnessing the advancements and innovation of many Indigenous peoples. This is why we fight for self-determination and change. Change requires courage. The courage to dismantle white supremacy, to dismantle the systems that are causing the inequities, injustices, and harms. Courage is stepping forward into that uncomfortable space to give up the power. Courage is doing the hard work of decolonization. Embody Ki God into your practice, and you will find that you create meaningful change. Embed the 4 conditions into the system for lasting change. And in doing so, you breathe life into reconciliation. I invite you to reflect on the 4 conditions and ask yourself, what am I doing? What is my organization doing? What is my government doing? I'm doing this for my 4 sons and for the generations that come behind. Imagine that I take the 4 conditions and put each one in my hand. Trust, healing, self-determination, and courage. And I hold out my hand and say, walk with me. Let's do this together. Thank you.